Welcome, listeners, to a special episode of our podcast. Today, we delve into a tragic mystery that has captivated the world: the disappearance of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon, two young women whose fateful journey through the jungles of Panama ended in tragedy. I'm your host, Joe Rios, and in this episode, we'll explore the events leading up to their disappearance and extensive search efforts that followed, and the lingering questions that remain unanswered. Join me as we journey into the heart of the jungle, where the dense foliage and rugged terrain conceal secrets known only to those who dare to tread its paths. Kris and Lisanne embarked on their adventure with hope and excitement, but what began as a dream trip turned into a nightmare of unimaginable proportions. As we unravel the events of that fateful day, we'll examine the clues left behind, the cryptic photographs, the distressing calls for help, and the harrowing discoveries that would later haunt investigators and loved ones alike. What happened to Kris and Lisanne during those final days in the jungle, and why were their remains found months later under mysterious circumstances? But beyond the facts and evidence lies a deeper story, one of friendship, courage, and resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. As we piece together the puzzle of Kris and Lisanne's disappearance, we'll also celebrate their lives and impact they had on those who knew and loved them. So join me as we shine a light into the shadows and seek answers to the questions that continue to haunt us. Subscribe now to the podcast and let us embark on this solemn journey together. A journey in search of truth, closure, and endurance, and the enduring legacy of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. So if you can't tell, today's podcast is going to be a little bit serious. And like I said previous weeks, that this episode was going to be over stalkers. And I picked this episode because it's a mystery. They felt like they were being stalked in the jungle by someone or something, judging by the pictures that they took and all the evidence that is found. Some people believe they may have been trafficked. Could have been an animal, could have been anything that took them. But that's what we're going to explore here today. And like always, let's get started with an interesting news from Mexico or from Latin American countries. I wish Dr. Pepper would sponsor me. My favorite drink in the world. Anyways, beyond that. So the mysterious news or the weird news that comes from today is that Mexico has decided to start enacting its policies, and they are deporting American immigrants that have chosen to live in Mexico illegally without following the process, which is kind of ironic because here in the States, we argue a lot that, do everything the proper way. And I know a lot of the people who say that are usually white people and not the nice ones. The ones that are just not the nice ones. You know what I mean? The ones from the South. Ding, 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 ding. Those white people. But they're the ones moving to Mexico. And now they're, like I said about a couple weeks ago, that they're causing a big stink and raising complaints and concerns because the music level, the celebrations were too much for them. And they wanted it to stop. They wanted everything that we stand for to just cease to exist because it was infringing on their ability to enjoy whatever they wanted to enjoy. Peace and quiet. But you're on the playa, you're on the beach. There's going to be music. Another case, they were in a plaza of a major city. There was music there because that's how they make their money, as musicians. But now Mexico's had enough of it, and they're like, you know what? It's time for y'all to get out. And that's what they're doing now. Now they're rounding them up and kicking them back over here. I think that's funny. But anyways, today's topic is a very serious one. So with the news out of the way and that out of the way, let's begin. If it looks different, I just realized that they have a background. It's not updated for a green screen, which you can kind of see through the side, but I like it. So we're going to run with this for now, see how well it does, see how y'all's reaction is to it, and we'll go from there. But anyways, this is a story of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon, who disappeared April 1st, 2014 in the rainforest near Boquete, Panama. Their remains were found, partial remains, not their entire remains, just partial, like a foot or something, were discovered June 19th, 2014. So from April to June, they weren't discovered. So let's see. We're in April right now. So they disappeared April 1st, 10 years ago. This is a fitting story. And they weren't found for 2 months. The 19th. That's a long time to be missing. Well, some people never get found, but that is, for the circumstances, that is a very long time. So they were 2 Dutch women, Kris Kremers 21, Lisanne Froon 22. Went on a 5 to 6 hour hike near Boquete, close to the continental divide of Panama, on April 1st, 2014. Kris and Lisanne had come to Panama to study Spanish and volunteer work with children in the community. So they were like, well, can't say they were humanitarians, but they were wanting to do something. You know, they're expanding, they're broadening their horizons. The remains are found 2 months later in mysterious circumstances, with the authorities claiming it was an accident. Dutch private investigators working for the family were convinced that there was likely to be foul play involved. The Panamanian authorities' explanation had many holes in their theory that the 2 women had fallen off a cable bridge across the river and were washed away. See, that's kind of hard to believe because their backpack and stuff were found by another hiker, like a tour guide from Panama. If they were washed away, they would have been gone. Everything. What happened to the Dutch women is the subject of much speculation, with disturbing photographic evidence of their last days, including mysterious missing picture number 509, and plenty unanswered questions. There have been many theories and have ranged across the internet forums in the years since their tragic death, but for now the case continues to raise questions despite the official conclusion. Yeah, so the entire time that they were missing, they took pictures. You know, what most people believe happened is that they got scared and it was late at night and they couldn't see, so they took pictures to kind of the flash, see what's ahead of them and around them for a brief period of time. And it was also theorized that they might have been scared of something stalking them in the jungle. And there's one picture missing, number 509. So they had like an SD card just ready for pictures, and they were not like they couldn't find their way. And I don't think in any of the pictures, from what I've seen, that there was a bridge. But out in the jungle, river crossing, old civilizations, tribes, they build cable bridges, rope bridges, tree root bridges like in India and some Asian countries to get across. So it could be theoretically possible, but I don't know. After saving some time to go on a graduation trip on March 15, 2014, Dutch students Kris Kremers, 21, and Lisanne Froon, 22, got on a plane at Amsterdam Airport to travel to Costa Rica in Latin America. From there, the 2 women headed to Bocas del Toro in Panama, mouth of the bull. They spent some time on the coast learning Spanish and enjoying the local food and drink. They met 2 Dutch tourists who were visiting the area at the time. 2 weeks after arriving in Panama, on March 29th, they headed on to Boquete, a city on the west side of the country. Boquete is a small town in Panama located in the westernmost province of Chiriquí, about 37 miles from the border with Costa Rica. It is situated on the Caldera River in the Panama's Green Mountain Highlands because of its elevation of 39,000 feet, 3,900 feet above sea level. Its climate is cooler than the lowlands. Its scenic location, temperature, and natural environment make it popular with Panamanians and attract tourists and retirees worldwide. So, in other words, it's like going to the jungle without the humidity. Without the heat and humidity, should I say. Lisanne graduated with a degree in applied science in September of 2013. And Kris was studying for a degree in cultural social education. The two women from Amersfoort in the Netherlands met while working in the Den Klinenhop restaurant in Amsterdam. Sounds like their version of IHOP. In Den Klinenhop. I'm not trying to do an accent, but that's just the way I have to say it. In the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, actually, they rented rooms in the same student house together. They saved 6 months for a trip to Panama for Lisanne's graduation celebration. So they met at a restaurant they worked at. They became friends, and they saved for a friend's trip to celebrate one of them graduating. They arrived in Panama on March 15th, 2014 for a 6-week vacation, 4 of which were to be spent living with a host family while they worked as volunteers in Boquete, teaching local children in the school and learning Spanish. But when they arrived at their host family's house, Lisanne and Kris were told their jobs would start in a week rather than immediately, as expected. So they decided to take the time and explore the area around Boquete whilst they waited for their jobs to start. So they weren't just like living with random people. They were working. They were working their way through the country. On April 1st, 2014, they left Boquete in good weather and mid-morning to hike the La Pianista Trail, an up and down path, hence the name, the Piano Trail. So it goes. They planned to walk to the summit around 8 kilometers from the city, and a taxi dropped them off at the start of the trail. According to the driver, Leonardo Arturo Gonzalez, who died less than a year later in strange circumstances. This is what makes things even more strange and more unknown. The people involved, disappeared. It was mid-afternoon, but the evidence from the lady's camera suggested it was around 11 a.m. It should take a responsibly fit person 2.5 to 3 hours to reach the summit, so it was a 5 to 6 hour round trip. Okay, look, I am not responsibly fit. I am built like a circle, as wide as a refrigerator. I am not a small dude. So it would have taken me, I don't give up though. I used to walk a lot. I used to walk miles. I mean miles. Like, if you know anything about Dallas, I walked from Louisville, Texas to Carrollton, Texas. I walked from Plano I used to live in Carrollton. Plano to Carrollton. North Dallas to Carrollton. I've walked for hours and hours alongside the highway. So I think I could do it. But presently, I'm taking maybe 3 to 5 hours. So it would be like 6 to 10 hour day to me. This is a day's excursion if it was me. But if it's too hot and humid, I'm staying home. Big boys don't do good in humidity. They posted on Facebook about exploring the area and meeting with fellow Dutch travelers for brunch that morning. They took with them a dog from the village and set out. There was a local dog. This dog came back. I've heard this story many times, so it's the dog came back first. That's when they knew something was wrong. They set out on the walk with light clothing, tank tops and shorts, together with a lightweight backpack containing passports, a water bottle, a Canon PowerShoot SX270 digital camera, about $80 on them, and their cell phones, an iPhone and a Samsung Galaxy. The area beyond the trail is very rugged, steep, and dangerous, particularly during the April to October wet season, where areas become treacherous, and even the indigenous Ngobi tread warily. The trail runs from the Chiriqui state in the province of Bocas del Toro, crossing steep river gorges up to 70 feet deep, which need to be crossed using cable bridges. Kris and Lisanne reached the summit around 1 p.m., and it seems for some reason they decided to carry on beyond. Typically, tourists turn around at this lookout point at the top of the Pianista Trail to walk the same path back to Boquete. There are signs at the spot nowadays warning people not to keep walking further without a guide because of the treacherous terrain. They had looked the trail up on the computer the day before the hike and may have thought that they still had time to walk towards a waterfall deeper in the jungle. They were not equipped for a prolonged period in the forest with no food or survival gear. Hikers who plan to go into the more adventurous areas usually pay guides and take specialist equipment and supplies to last for days, including tents, food, and rainproof clothing. Because you're in the rainforest, anything could happen. A simple trek into the rainforest, you're thinking is a few hours, could last you a day and a half. Because you're in the rainforest, the high humidity can cause massive storms to appear out of nowhere. So you need waterproof clothing, you need waterproof backpacks, you need a waterproof tent. Because if that happens and the terrain gets too treacherous, you have to stay put. I'm not a hiker anymore. I used to do all that stuff, but yeah, if you're going beyond a certain point, you gotta be prepared to be there for a day or two. Later that evening, on April 1st, the dog's owners were alarmed when their dog returned without any sign of the two women. Like I said, the dog came home. The women were reported missing 2 days later on April 3rd after the family they were staying with and a local guide who was due to take them to a national park nearby on April 2nd grew concerned. After they were declared missing, authorities put dog teams on the ground and helicopters, but initial searches proved fruitless, even with the help of residents. On April 6th, Kris's parents, Hans Kremer and Roelie Kremer, and Dutch detectives flew to Boquete and started a larger search with specialized search and rescue teams and a sniffer dog. The search went on for another 10 days. So from the 1st to the 6th, that's 5 days, 10, 15 days. This search intensified, but nothing was found. There was no sign of the women or their belongings. The parents also offered a $30,000 reward. Lisanne was known to have asthma and complained to her host family of shortness of breath. Her asthma paired with altitude change and panic caused by being lost may have impacted her ability to survive the ordeal. Image 507 is of Kris Kremers crossing a small stream at 1:54, according to the digital timestamp on the camera. 10 weeks go by. In June 2014, a local woman found the backpack and a rice paddy on the bank of the Culebra or Serpent River, near the village of Alta Romero, around 10.5 miles from Boquete and 5 miles from the summit of the La Pianista Trail. It was estimated that it was around an 8-hour walk from their last known location, and the village was in a very remote area, which would have been difficult to reach on foot. Around the same time, Kris Kremers' jean shorts were discovered on a narrow strip of land between two fast-flowing tributaries. The Nagobi people who found the shorts said they found them zipped, folded, and placed on a rock high above the water. This is what I mean by they couldn't have been swept away. So the backpack being found on the bank of a rice paddy, I'll give you that one. The backpack got swept away, right? But for a pair of shorts, and I'm looking at the picture of Kris Kremer. Yeah, her jean shorts. So the jean shorts she's wearing in the picture. I wish I could put it up there for you. Can I? Nope, didn't work. up there. They're not. They're not like dickies. They're not like shorts that go past or to go up to your knee or past. They're mid thigh. So like a breeze could move them. You know what I mean? And they were on a strip of land between two fast flowing tributaries. You can't say that they were swept away if their shorts are still on land, like gently placed and folded on a rock. Police from the Justice Department picked up the backpack from the woman using a helicopter. They assumed it had drifted to the area in the river, but the backpack contents were dry and undamaged, and the bag looked in good condition despite weeks in the jungle or river. Furthermore, the finder said she was sure the pack was not in the location the day before heavy rain had hit the area in the prior few weeks, so it would be expected that everything would be soaked through, suggesting it had been placed there before its discovery by persons unknown. And I'm looking at a picture of the backpack. It just looks like a regular backpack, not waterproof, not a survival bag. And like glasses, water bottle, some bras. That's all the contents that they show. But if anything's in the water for an extended period of time, especially during heavy rains and storms, can it focus? Okay, I was just trying to see if what's going on. It's not focusing on me. The bag would show deterioration. Like the regular backpacks that kids use in school and you could buy anywhere, they wear out. They thin really fast. So it looks like everything was found. Like someone put it on this bank and then disappeared, and then someone found it because everything was dry, not soaked. Lisanne's asthma inhaler was not among the belongings recovered. Investigators determined that the belongings had 34 different fingerprints, with 13 on the bag. DNA was also detected on the bag contents, but none led to any serious leads for the police. The pictures on the Canon power shot and the mysterious missing picture number 509. A key piece of evidence was the discovery of Lisanne's Canon power shot, with over 100 images on the digital memory card, in addition to the passport, cell phone, sunglasses, cash, and their bras, when the contents of the backpack were searched. There were 133 consecutive photos with only one mystery shot missing, image number 509. The camera has no GPS location option, so the investigators could only establish or guess the location of the photos based on the surroundings that were visible to them. The first pictures on April 1st were standard tourist shots with both women laughing and smiling on a bright sunny day, with some selfies taken at the overlook of the divide. Most of the pictures were taken by Lisanne, with Kris walking ahead of her on the trail. Then we see the women following an indigenous trail near a creek or stream, heading downhill away from their destination, Boquete. Kris's face in one of the shots shows anxiety with sunset around 6:40 p.m. in the rainforest. Image number 508 is the last photo taken by Lisanne and Kris, but there are two versions of photo 508. One shows in its metadata that it was taken 8 seconds after photo 507, but another version of the same photo states that the last photo of Kris looking backwards was taken 50 seconds before the previous photo of her passing the creek. This anomaly could be photo manipulation by someone. No more daytime photos were made on April 1st after the last stream picture, 508. So maybe they tried to return the bouquet at this point, but were intercepted. That went down the wrong pipe. Dutch specialists have tried to undelete the missing photo, which usually is not a challenge when an image is manually deleted, because pressing the delete button does not mean the whole file is erased. However, experts failed to recover the missing photo and would be impossible for the camera to skip a number by accident when shooting pictures. So that means for a photo or something to be permanently deleted off an SD card or off of anything to the point that where an expert can't bring it back, you have to upload it to a computer and actually delete it out the file. Because if you just delete it from the camera, the metadata still exists. And an expert who knows how to do that can reconstruct the image using the data on there. But if you hook it up to a computer and wipe the file, then it's gone. And that's one of the theories, that someone connect the camera to a computer and permanently delete it. Perhaps the women manually deleted this photo and the subsequent images had permanently overwritten the deleted file. But when new pictures overwrite a manually deleted photo, there is often generally at least a fraction of the deleted photo found, and to find no traces is suspicious or puzzling at least. So, like I said, even if you delete something, like if I were to take my phone, delete, and then take a picture to replace that file number, a small piece of that metadata still exists, and you can say, oh, there was something taken between here and here before this one. I don't know about nowadays, but I know on SD cards, that's always been something that criminal investigators, police, forensic experts, they use. So even if you delete something, they can still find something. That's why, like, hard drives, to delete them, you got to destroy them. Because even if you delete them, it's not deleted. Unless you take a very powerful magnet and wipe that clean. Best way, destroy it. Like if you don't want your data getting out there and you have an old computer, take the hard drive out and destroy the hard drive. It's the only way to truly get rid of everything. It is plausible that the Panamanian authorities took photo 509 off the camera because something was on it that they didn't want the outside world to see. Maybe its content was at odds with their controversial accident scenario, and that the Panamanian police put forward as the leading story. Corruption, essentially. So they said they were missing, and then like they took picture 509, they were taken. That hurts their reputation. So I doubt they want that to happen because it's a tourist destination. Dutch investigators were almost sure that someone deliberately deleted 509 permanently for reasons unknown. Probably with the help of a computer, since it's between the normal daytime photos of April 1st and the mysterious night photos of April 8th. It could be a vital picture. Of all the holiday photos the two women made on their holiday, investigators did not find any deleted. In addition, the memory card had plenty of space left. The emergency services call started around this time. Coincidence? Maybe, but probably not. Yeah. And part of the thing that I'm looking at here, I had to read it real quick. The Travel Channel did an episode on it called Lost in the Wild, Hike to Hell. They talked about the disappearance of Kris and Lisanne, and the presenters, Kinga Phillips and J.J. Kelly, showed simply that if Kris and Lisanne had removed photo number 509 manually any time before the first nighttime photo was made, it would have never even known that it had been deleted because the following photo, the first nighttime photo, would have automatically received photo number 509. So the camera would have just put 509 no matter what. So 509 is missing. I think pictures are trying to upload, but it's not showing. Yeah, that shows pictures of them recreating walking on the cable bridge, how difficult it would be. And it's a single line bridge. It's not like how you got two ropes and then planks in between. Nah, it's just one line with two ropes to hold. So you're walking on a tightrope essentially. The strangest picture on the camera, perhaps of most interest, were 90 photos taken on April 8th between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. Many in complete darkness with rain falling. Some were taken a few seconds apart, and others up to 15 minutes apart. Several shots appear to have been taken deliberately as they were not blurred, indicating that they were not taken under duress. At this point, the girls had been in the rainforest for 1 week. And it looks like a picture into the darkness. You can see some trees, some vegetation, ones of a leaf. Some internet sleuths are speculating that the women were trying to use the camera as a light source. Like I said, they were using it to find their way. In pitch black, signal potential rescuers or scare away wild animals. But analysis of the photo shots that were taken below the foliage, not in the open, and if the girls were trying to attract attention, they would have taken pictures in the open. Not if they were lost and they didn't know where they were. They were just snapping pictures away. And then there's a single close-up, which seems to show a wound on the right side of Kris's head, in the temple area, and blood on her hairline. Lisanne may have been using the camera to offer clues to subsequent rescuers where Kris was if she needed to be left behind because of injuries. So, right about right here, temple. Something right here. Some of the shots appear to be orientated upwards, while others show ravine, gorges, and even man-made structures, most likely to be cable bridges. These bridges are very dangerous, especially in the rain. One photo seems to show a bridge 3 miles from Boquete on the western bank of a tributary that forms the headwaters of the Culebra Bridge, or Culebra River, where the girls trying to follow the river downstream, as advocated by many survival guides. A lot of times, if you get lost in the woods, follow the river. It'll always lead you to civilization. At least that's the leading theory. That's like the number one survival tip. Follow the river. It'll lead you to civilization. And also, it's a water source. It's a food source. Stay far enough away that you're dry. Stay close enough that you can be seen. If you're ever out there, stay close enough to the river to where you can be seen, but far enough away that if you have to camp out for the night, you're going to remain dry, and you're far enough from predators and other animals that might be curious to see what you are, because it's a water source. There's a polar bear expedition that talks about this, and one guy got eaten alive. I watch all these. I listen to a lot of these podcasts about this stuff. Analysis of the calls on their cell phones. Analysis of the call records of the iPhone owned by Kris showed her trying to reach an emergency service number in the Netherlands at 4:39 p.m. on the day they went missing, April 1st, using the Dutch emergency number 112. This was followed by a call to the Panamanian emergency number using 911. Due to poor reception, their calls weren't connected. The Dutch number 112 also works in Panama, and if not, automatically transferred to the emergency number of the country the phone's network is in. They subsequently turned their phones off and tried calling several times on April 2nd, 14 hours later. Both phones were used to make these calls, and on one of these calls, they actually made a connection at 6:58. Lisanne's Samsung connected for just 1 or 2 seconds on the number 112, but the call quickly failed. And 36 seconds later, the phone was again switched off. They never managed to get a connection again despite trying several times. They're out in the jungle in a foreign country and the rainforest. If you ever plan on backpacking, do it right. Spend the extra $1,000 and get a satellite phone. Let's look up how much a satellite phone costs. So, let's see. So I was right. Yeah, spend the extra $1,000. A touchscreen satellite phone or a satellite phone starts you off at anywhere from Walmart at $260 all the way up to $1,699. A Therax X5 Touch satellite smartphone. They got, yeah, they're expensive. But the reason they're expensive is that they're supposed to be guaranteed to connect. This one shows that it works. Not in America, Australia, Africa, yeah, Europe. I didn't know that there were certain ones. Maybe like the different plans you can use. All plans have 1 month minimum airtime. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go backpacking, please spend the extra money. Buy yourself a very expensive satellite phone, because if you get lost, they'll come in handy to save you. I think even some of them emit an SOS signal with your GPS coordinates. So, but they saved their students. They weren't thinking about it. I would have that packed. I don't care. However long I'm going to be gone for, I'll buy a 2-month plan. I would have it on me. I'll take my phone. I got my regular phone. I got my iPhone, which I use to take videos for Instagram and TikTok because it uploads better. Because proprietary technology that's customized for iPhone, which is why everyone argues iPhone is better. But in reality, it's the same, if not like a hair worse than Samsung. And I do mean like a hair, like side by side comparison. They're almost identical, except proprietary tech. That's a whole other thing for another day. But I would carry my 2 backup phones, or my phone and my backup phone, and a satellite phone. That way, if anything were to ever happen, I would pull that out, be like, bam, guaranteed to work, guaranteed to find me help. But again, that's me. That's not 2 young adults looking to vacation. No one thinks about this stuff. On April 6th, 5 days after their hike began, Lisanne's Samsung Mobile stopped working, presumably because the battery went dead. Kris's iPhone was turned off until April 11th, when it was activated at 10:51 and stayed on for 1 hour and 5 minutes. This was the last time the iPhone was used. On day 6, when Lisanne's Samsung battery failed, someone tried to access Kris's iPhone, but the PIN was incorrectly entered. It is claimed that 77 attempts were made to access the phone between April 7th and the 10th. 77 attempts. Like, I mess up my password at least once because it's my phone, and then boom, 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 I'm in. It's not 77 times back to back trying to figure out a password. That's strange. Like I said, a lot of strange things happened that make people think that they weren't missing, or that they didn't, get lost and fell down the river, got injured, and then subsequently passed. Following the backpack's discovery, a local guide, with the help of 6 native and Gobi people, found bone remains, jean shorts, and 2 different shoes along the Rio Culebra shortly before June 19th, 2014. The jeans shorts were found 14 hours of walking distance from the backpack on top of a rock on the opposite bank of the river. At least 8 walking hours from Boquete. Some witnesses claimed that they, in fact, found the jeans shorts not neatly folded at all, but floating in the river itself. Conflicting stories. The bone remains were found on June 19th behind a tree in the vicinity of Alto Romero and away from the river. Lisanne Froon's left foot was found intact inside her wildebeest boot, showing multiple fractures of the metatarsals. DNA later confirmed it was a match. The laces were still tightly laced, and a sock was inside the boot. The foot still had some skin and flesh on it. The shoe with the foot was found upstream, so not downstream. Forensic analysis found that the cut of the bone on the foot was surprisingly clean and that no blood was found on it, but there were no signs of cutting, hacking, gunshots, or teeth or claw marks. At least 3 scattered bones, mainly from a left leg, were also discovered along the same riverbank, a few miles from the cable bridge and dry river stones, where some investigators think the nighttime photos may have been taken. Very few other remains were found, and the ones retrieved were scattered sometimes miles apart, while all following the direction of the river. 1/2 of a pelvic bone, part broken, was also found and was identified as being from Kris. Later, Kris's number 10 right rib bone was also found, as well as a femur upper leg bone from Lisanne and possibly her tibia. See, that's it, they were scattered. Like, I don't know, like if they were washed away, they died, they fell down a ravine or the cable bridge, and they died hitting the water. Unless the body got caught on something, the bones would not be this scattered apart. In my opinion, this is just what I believe happened. A rolled up ball of skin from Lisanne's shin was also located by investigators sometimes later on August 29th, 2014. The forensic pathologist later found that the skin was still in an early stage of decomposition, even containing maggots. In contrast with Kris's fully bleached and clean bones, the pathologist also discovered that the bone marrow in Lisanne's femur and tibia bone proved dry and undecomposed. The bone marrow was intact and unaltered. The forensic pathologist speculated that someone may have manipulated the piece of skin. So for that to be found, somebody grabbed it, balled it up, threw it, which is disgusting to begin with. This is where the theories of that they were trafficked, that they were, one of the wilder theories, it was some cannibalistic tribe, but some of the tribes were helping, so it's up to you to decide on that one. Initially, neither the Dutch nor Panamanian forensic teams could provide a cause of death, with the official theory from the Panamanian authorities being that the women both fell off a monkey bridge and were washed away by the raging waters. The Dutch police concluded that deaths were likely an accident, but some of the Panamanian police and Dutch private investigators strongly believe that the deaths could have been foul play, given some of the strange evidence. The case was first officially declared a homicide, a crime against personal integrity, by Panama's Attorney General in the Chirique Judicial State Report. Still later on October 14th, 2014, two forms from the Panamanian state official described the deaths as a case of abduction, which is the leading cause by a lot of people, that they were abducted. They didn't fall. They were chased, they were caught. Whatever happened to them, no one will ever know. When Panamanian forensics teams failed to come to a definitive and official conclusion, the case was closed and considered an accident. They believe Lisanne and Kris decided to continue into the wild terrain in the Continental Divide region and succumbed to the jungle. According to the case by officials, it was a simple case of being lost. Kris fell first. Lisanne tended to her, then photographed her remains in the dark, and continued until she also fell, broke her ankle and foot, perhaps fell into the river, and died from exhaustion, hunger, and the elements. However, Dutch pathologist Dr. Frank van de Goot was skeptical of this explanation. He said, "There is no way to get lost. You actually don't need a guide. Regarding the official theory that the girls fell off a monkey bridge and were washed away, no way. They would have never gone. They would never go on it." Concerning the strange nighttime pictures on the camera, Van de Goot said, "Yes, I saw them. They are very creepy. They're Blair Witch projecty. The part of the jungle out there is known by the guides as Jungle Hell. Past the Continental Divide. People die up there. When you are out there in the daylight, there is no problem. When you are out there in the dark, it's game over. You haven't seen the cable bridges. I'm a mountaineer. You're full mortal on that bridge. It appears at first sight that both women died because of the brutal and dangerous conditions in the Panamanian jungle. But was there something more sinister at play? For a start, it was strange that one of their bags was found some distance from the river without water damage. But if foul play was involved, why weren't the valuables stolen? Maybe a rapist or murderer just wanted to taunt authorities, or they came across drug traffickers. It is a sad case with the terrible last few days for Lisanne and Kris, and their Panamanian adventure was meant to be the trip of a lifetime. It was supposed to be a celebration of graduation. So some of the questions that will always remain. Who deleted picture 509? Why haven't they followed up on the leads produced by their own forensic examiners? The Chiriquí police force and local reporters have launched a thorough investigation to other unsolved deaths and missing persons cases in the area. Why do we not know whose fingerprints were on the digital camera and the phone? We need to know who made the last calls to 911 and the 112. Fingerprint analysis could help with that. Yes, they could, but if they were indigenous, you're never going to find out who it was. Or if they just lived in the mountains and they rarely came to the city, you're not going to know who it is without fingerprinting every single person in the jungle. How about the water bottle and its contents? Were the water molecules found in a small plastic water bottle from the supermarket? Or was it water from a local bridge? Or was it local tap water? Perhaps that was last in it. That would help them also how long they were out there for. Did they have to resort to drinking river water? Did they refill at us? Did someone refill it, at their house? Or was it just from the store? Why were there no DNA samples taken from possible saliva remnants? The girls had warned other youngsters in Boca del Toro not to venture out alone without a guide, and they were known to be meticulous planners. So why did they decide to go out alone on a wilderness hike? A lot of people think it was because it was just a very nice day. But someone who plans like that, they should have known better. Or were they not alone after all? Was there some kind of guide there? Some pretending to be a guide out there with them, telling them, like, hey, I'll take you into the jungle. Why was Blue, the dog who supposedly walked along with them, never seen in any of the photographs? I mean, if it was me, I'd be taking pictures of the dog. Like, oh, look, the dog's next to the river. Stuff like that. But, like, if the dog detected something was wrong, he probably barked a little bit, stayed back, and then went home. Why didn't the girls return after placing their last emergency call? Since they got into trouble early in the trip, as evidenced by their emergency calls, how could they have fallen into a river 12 hours away? Many wooden sheds and small cabins along the river are scattered around the terrain where Kris and Lisanne could have ended up. Given the location where the remains were scattered, why wouldn't they have hidden in there if they genuinely were lost, waiting for the rescue teams to find them? Why do the statements of all the witnesses contradict the photo time evidence? Why has the exact location of the 90 nighttime photos never been thoroughly investigated and established? Why are so many witness statements off by the time they stated they had seen the girls on April 1st? Why have their video recordings from that day in Boquete never been released or thoroughly investigated? And why do we not know when they were still in Boquete on April 1st? How could they get lost on a one-way track in an inhabited world where Ngobi natives walk the mountains trails daily? with their cattle top of it all. Adobe sent me a message. Why did we hear nothing about the drugs and gang wars going on in Boquete around 2014, with at least 15 local gangs fighting for dominance? How can Dutch forensics conclude that the 99 photos were all dark when at least 5 photos have since turned up and out to have a clear landscape on them once the photo settings were slightly altered? In fact, why do they and their families lie about this? Yeah, you can just change a lot of stuff on the photo. There's a lot of questions. Oh, I'm not going to read all that. So, the taxi... My phone's somewhere over there. The subsequent events. The death of the taxi driver, Leonardo Arturo Gonzalez. In March 2015, less than a year after the two women disappeared, 34-year-old Leonardo Arturo Gonzalez, who worked as a taxi driver, who took them to Sendero El Pianista from Boquete and Chirique, mysteriously drowned. He had taken 3 foreigners and a guide to the tourist sector of Hualaca to see the Los Canguilones spa. Residents in the area spotted a body floating in the Esti River, so they notified the area authorities, and it was later identified as being Gonzalez. Apparently, Gonzalez was waiting for the tourists who were bathing in this place and somehow fell into the river. Yeah, that seems very iffy, especially if he's like a native and he grew up there. I would imagine he knows how to swim because he's probably been to the river or something, That's just me. I don't know. But yes. So if you ever plan on going on a trip and you're going to be in the rainforest, please spend the money and get yourself a satellite phone. If you get lost, satellite phone could save you. I know it's great to be like, oh, my phone I got Verizon, I got AT&T, they got signal everywhere. Now, if you're in the jungle, I have trouble getting signal in Costco. Can you imagine in the jungle? Now, you need a satellite phone. So, everyone be safe out there. See y'all next week. And that's it. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe. And that's it. I got nothing else. Remember, if you're going to go out into the jungle, plan your trip. Do not go off your trail. If you're going to go somewhere that you've never been before, have a guide. And if you're out in the rainforest, away from modern civilization, I'm talking modern civilization. If you couldn't go down the street to McDonald's, Wendy's, Jack in the Box, Whataburger, Tim Hortons, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kremes, any place like that, you are in the boonies. You need to have a satellite phone so you can be located, or a GPS. They sell just a GPS by itself, so where if anything happens, click the button, sends a signal to authorities. They'll find you. That's cheaper. If you want to talk to them and if you get scared, spend $1,000. So, but that's it. I'll see y'all next week. Like, follow, subscribe. And I'm going to be uploading more on Instagram because TikTok has like 140 days to decide if they're going to sell to the US or not. So I'm still going to post to TikTok, but Instagram's going to be, I'm going to start transitioning. Later.